Hi guys, and welcome to Honest Talk Radio. I'm Michaela, your host, and Wednesday nights are my favorite because it's our live edition with author, actor, fitness, and nutrition expert, but his most important role is dad to twins, Sanjay Raja. Sanjay, I love Wednesday nights. I'm super excited to have you on tonight. And before we get started with our topic about kids and fitness, I thought you could share with our listeners your exciting news that was just released this week.
Yes. Thanks for having me on the show. I look forward to it every week. And the exciting news is that we finished our pilot episode for our TV show concept based around the book, The Food Talk. So I'm here in LA working with some producers, and we've got some meetings set up to talk to different networks about their interest in it. So it's exciting to move the process forward.
That's awesome. I know you and I have been talking about it for a while, and it's the book is a great concept, but to have a show around it also is just awesome. So thanks for sharing. And now as we get into tonight's topic, this is one that I hold near and dear to my heart, which is kids and fitness. For those of you listening, don't forget you can send us your questions and comments in the chat box here in Spreaker, and we'd be happy to answer that during the show. So first question for you, I think, is what exactly would constitute as having an active lifestyle with kids?
That's a good question. And, everybody's definition of fitness with kids is different. Some people, their definition involves, organized sports, soccer, baseball, what have you. And then there's other people who just enjoy taking them on hiking, nature trails, camping, doing outdoorsy stuff. And then there's other people who actually, their idea of fitness with kids is working out with them, So everybody's definition is very different. There's no right answer.
Mm-hmm.
The key is to get, just like it ties it all back to food. And that is, if you create healthy habits with them early on and have them grow to love it at an early age, to enjoy it, when they are adults, they'll be part of their daily regimen, which is the goal, which is to stay active and stay healthy.
Right. Is there such thing as too young, like to get kids involved in organized sports, let's say? Is there such thing as doing it too young?
I don't know if there's such a thing as too young for organized sports, but I would set the expectation, if you're specifically talking about organized sports, when young kids, they're just there for fun, right? They're not there for the competition. They're not there for, winning trophies. They're there just to have fun, right? So, I would, as a parent, really set the expectation that if I'm going to put my kids in an organized sport at a very early age, I can't expect too much out of it except for the fact that I hope they enjoy it.
Right. Yeah, some of these organized sports can get a little crazy depending on, I think, what part of the country you're in. Coaches and parents can take it pretty seriously, but like you said, the aim and the goal is to make fitness fun so that they want to carry it on for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. In my case, I was never really involved in organized sports as a kid. I did individual sports. I did a lot of track, and then I got into martial arts, and I stuck with it ever since. And I was never really had that organized sports kind of mentality. So with my kids, they're in soccer right now to kind of see if they like it.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like me, they're gravitating more towards the individual sports like martial arts that I'm teaching them. And it just depends on preference and what they're into, but I kind of expose them to a little bit of everything. But the hardest part as a parent when it comes to food and activities for kids is not putting our own personal biases that we consciously or subconsciously imprint on our kids.
Right, like when we're not trying to vicariously live through them. Let them be their own person.
Yeah, you love soccer, and if your kid hates it, you know what? You have to let them explore it, but have this sense that my kid may not enjoy it, and so I can't keep pushing it on them. And that's the one thing that I know to be true is that as in order to love a physical activity, your kids generally want to do it. And kids, of course, have a short attention span. So they'll like soccer one day, baseball one day. So you want to give them enough time to actually see if they like it. But just be able to say, okay, we've given it a good try. You really don't like it, and maybe move on to something else.
Are there any guidelines, if you will, as far as how much activity a kid should be getting within the day?
Yeah, they recommended the recommendation from government standards of physical fitness is 30 minutes of activity per day, which it's sad because if you look at school and demographics, how they're related is that inner city kids actually, because the school system doesn't have a lot of money, recess is cut out of the inner city school system, which is sad because they don't get a lot of activity time. The more affluent areas, they do get recess and activity time. So it's sad that it comes down to demographics and money, but as parents, if we can at least try to achieve that goal of 30 minutes to an hour a day before or after homework, it keeps, they're actually better suited to do homework because any sort of physical activity stimulates blood flow in the brain. Mm-hmm. So, that helps with concentration, helps with problem solving skills. So, it is to the advantage of the parent to push physical activity. It doesn't have to be team sports. It doesn't have to be individual sports. It can be simple as going outside to the park, riding their bikes, whatever it may be, just something to kind of break them up, staring at iPads and TV and notebooks, and then being able for them to kind of focus on other things so they can't effectively focus on their homework.
It's funny, as you were talking right now, it made me think, I just took my kids, all three of them, to the doctors for a standard checkup because we're about to move. And one of the questions they ask is, do they have at least 30 minutes of physical activity a day? But then are they getting it, is their screen time less than 2 hours? So the limit for screen time is higher than what they're asking you and, expecting of you for fitness. And that just seems really backwards. And I'm not shaming anybody because my kids definitely have time on their devices. But yeah, go ahead.
To your point, Michaela, it does seem backwards. And the reason why I think this is why they've created this guideline is because in today's day and age, they're exposed to more screen time than at any point in our society, right? Mm-hmm. Cell phones, tablets, all that. And now, for example, in my kids' school system, they have to do what's called iReady.
Right.
And that's a tablet, and it's pick and choose multiple choice using an app on their iPad. So now the schools are mandating you got to be ready, which is screen time, on top of the screen time they already got in school. So,
and then they want leisure screen time.
Exactly. So it's like it's a no-win situation. So that's why they created this kind of backwards guideline saying, hey, try not to give them too much screen time because they're going to get it anyways.
Yeah.
Right? And so physical fitness kind of gets left behind and saying only 30 minutes. So, it comes down to being, like meal prepping with food, like we always talk about. Be prepared to prep the schedule for the day. So, for example, when my kids, I pick them up from school, first thing we do is knock out the homework. Mm-hmm. Then I give them of iReady. Then we do some physical activity. Then they help me cook dinner. We eat dinner. We read a book after that, review any stuff they have to for a test if they have a test the next day, and then they're ready for bed. So they've had a full active day, stay active throughout the whole thing. And by the way, chores are a great form of physical activity because I like to employ that a lot.
Oh, yes, me too. As a matter of fact, as we're sharing what we do with our families, we have an accountability measure with our kids, and it's not meant to make them feel bad if they didn't hit their goals for the day. But just like myself, working from home, I need accountability. And so after dinner time, we go through the list, and on that list is, did you eat healthy? And did you get at least, we actually put an hour of activity every day, and did they do their chores? They each have their age appropriate chores. And, if they didn't do it, we say, okay, what are some of the things that happened today for why you didn't do it? And what can
Yeah.
we fix for tomorrow? And that has actually been working better than any other system I've ever put in place. The chore charts, the various different calendar things that I've tried over the years, the accountability, all sitting down together and talking about the day is what has been working the best.
No, that's great because it comes down to that family time and being on the same page. If a family has pets, right now my daughter and my son are walking. Each walks a dog
Mm-hmm.
together. You know, walks them around the neighborhood at the park, so they're getting their activity there. They have to care for the dog. They have to clean up after the dog. They do laundry with me, so I'll put the laundry in the washer and then move it to the dryer, and then one gets the hangers, one folds them,
Mm-hmm.
and so system. They're always teaming up together, but they're constantly moving. They're not sitting down because we tell adults sitting is the new smoking, right?
Yeah.
So guess what? Why isn't it? I think it rings true for kids as well. Sitting down and being on the screen for hours and hours at a time, I'm sure has a detrimental effect on kids as well.
Right.
So that's the thing. Always in motion, always keeping the brain active. That's a rule that if not only kids should follow, but we as adults should follow with our kids. And if you're active with your kids, doing these chores with them, it's the same thing as eating dinner with your kids. It's just family time.
Yes, and creating those healthy habits.
Yeah.
One of the questions that I personally have, and hopefully some of you listeners can relate with me, is my son is a teenager and he's a swimmer and is doing extremely well, but it has been brought up that he should be weightlifting. And for some reason, my husband and I are very cautious about implementing a weightlifting program. And really, it comes down to just not having enough information and knowing what are some of the things that we should be looking for, or some of the dangers, some of the benefits, and etc.
Well, I would say weightlifting, that term, I would prefer to use resistance training.
Yes.
Okay. So, you know what? You can start them if they've never actually been in the gym to lift weights per se. The first way to start resistance training to prime their body to be ready for it is to do anything where they're lifting their own body weight. Okay. Mm-hmm. 90% of Americans cannot do a pull up, which is lifting your entire body weight.
Right. 90%?
Yeah, 90%.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. And the new insurance actuaries now are determining your insurance rates on resistance training rather than BMI, which is a great thing because they're saying if you can do, what the golden number they marked as far as push-ups is to reduce your risk of heart attack by 50%?
No, what is it?
Is if you can do 40 consecutive push-ups, then you've reduced your risk of heart attacks by roughly half.
Oh my gosh. Seriously?
Yeah, that's the number they came up with.
Wow.
And most people can't do that either.
Yeah.
So with my kids, what we do is we do a lot of resistance training at home with them. So they don't, because they're 7 years old. So I'm not going to throw, 10-pound weights in their face. Right. Even though they want to try, but, they can do push-ups. My daughter can do pull-ups at the age of 7. She can hang on the bars. They've got great strength training. Their core strength is really good. So for your son, I would say, start doing a regimen of pull-ups, push-ups, anything to prime the body to gain that natural strength, and then he'll be ready to go as far as weightlifting when you guys feel comfortable with that.
So funny story, we actually have a pull-up bar in our laundry room, which is a room that everybody walks into multiple times a day. It's where we keep our dog food and obviously put the laundry, and we kept our kitchen trash can in there. And the rule was that every time you walked into that room, you had to do at least one push-up. A pull-up. That's awesome. And then, that number increased over time for each person, depending on that particular person. But, we just thought it was a fun way to, didn't really think about what we were doing necessarily.
Well, your husband is military, correct? Right?
Correct.
And,
yes.
And what are the PT requirements for him as far as pull-ups?
I don't know the exact number. I should know that, but I do know that you can't do it. They're not chin-ups, they're pull-ups. So you have to do them with your hands facing out
Yeah,
as opposed to
yeah,
facing towards you.
exactly, exactly. And that's the thing. Like I got a good buddy of mine who works for a large insurance company, and he's telling me their new actuaries and determining rates is all based on physical fitness. It's not
Hmm.
on, and they actually want you to do PT testing to determine your rates. And guess what? Do you realize because 90% of Americans can't really lift their own body weight, they're going to be paying higher premiums because you can't do 10 to 15 pull-ups or
Wow.
push-ups. Yeah, it's
That's a
crazy, but
sobering reality.
it is a sobering reality because it makes sense because all the new studies coming out clearly indicate resistance training hitting certain baseline minimums like the 40 push-up number that they came up with is a strong indicator of future health problems.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
So,
Absolutely.
and we tell I tell all my clients resistance training changes metabolism, cardiac training does nothing in that sense.
Yeah. I remember we're talking about that with you the other day when last week actually we talked about it when we were talking about fitness, and it's so crazy because this podcast has definitely got me thinking. Like I've mentioned before, I prided myself on knowing quite a bit about fitness and nutrition. However, there's just a lot that you take for granted sometimes.
No, it's true. It's such a large subject to wrap your head around, and things change constantly. And you just, there was a funny little meme that I put up on my page where they're all having lunch together, and there's two of them who are into reading the latest scientific news, and they're telling their third friend, "You should drink juice," but 3 seconds later, juice is bad for you.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. I mean, this is how fast everything changes. And it's the same with the fitness industry. I remember the days of 80s and 90s. The big bulky weightlifters are the ones who like rule the gym, right?
Right.
Guess you can barely find one now, and if you do find one, they're all alone in the corner.
Well, now it's the P90X, or no, that was actually several years ago, but the CrossFit.
CrossFit. So the CrossFit is the number one injury that walks into ERs right now in the country. You know that, right?
Number one?
Number one in ER reporting injuries that people walk in is CrossFitters.
Huh.
Yeah, because they do. I mean, listen, their mentality is, lift a tire 1,000 times, do 1,000 push-ups, and then jump on a box 50,000 times. So here's the thing: I think exercise and variety and mixing it up is great. I think it's fantastic. But here's the thing: know when to say, you know what, I probably shouldn't do 1,000. Probably doesn't look awesome. And I'm exaggerating that number, of course.
Yeah.
But I've seen those little chalkboards they have in these CrossFit gyms, and they, you got to do 10 here, 20 here, 30 here, 40 here, and it gets a little crazy. I'm just like, all right, let's ask ourselves this: are we professional athletes, and are we getting paid for it? No.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are we Olympic level athletes looking to train for the next 4 years for the Olympics? No. Do we have to go to work? Yes. Do we have a family? Yes. Do we want to play with our kids? Yes. So design a workout that allows you to look good, feel good, but allows you to function and not be injured.
And on that note, with going back to family and fitness, I think it's important, one thing that we strive to do in our family is to teach our children that it's not about weight. It's not necessarily about appearance, but more so, are you healthy? Overall health, and really focusing on what does health mean.
Yes, everybody's definition of what is healthy is different.
Mm-hmm.
But what you can safely say is, does your workout routine address what you're trying to accomplish? And
right.
So, for example, your son, they probably said he needs resistance training to gain a little bit more lean muscle so he can be a better swimmer, probably, right?
Well, his big thing is he's so lean. He is extremely tall and lean, and so it's kind of creating more of his goal would probably be, the broader shoulders.
Yeah, he wants more fat, right?
Yeah.
And here's the thing: how old is he?
15.
15. So here's the thing: for him to build muscle, I can tell you it's going to be very simple because his natural testosterone HGH levels when you're a young kid are very high.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they taper off, in your 20s and 30s and 40s. But now's the time where he has just naturally large quantities of HGH and testosterone in his bloodstream. And to take advantage of that, you know what? Start doing that resistance training like we talked about, where
Yeah.
push-ups, pull-ups, all that good stuff. And then when you guys are comfortable, graduate him to lifting weights. And then him and your husband, or you and all three of you,
Yeah.
go to the gym together. Do it together. I see families at the gym all the time now, which is fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah, we are huge on doing things together, but you know, a lot of times I think it comes out of a place of fear from a parent. You know, am I pushing them too much? Am I making them, you know, hate this or love this, or, you know, just all those uncertainties that come along with parenting. And so what would be let's pretend that, you know, we're a family that's really just not into fitness, but we want to get into fitness. What are some easy ways to kind of start changing our routine to implement fitness?
Yeah, well, it's a great question. You know, you start small and you work your way up to see what you like and what you don't like. So, you know, going on walks together. That's the simplest thing in the world you can do. Take the family dog out for a long walk as a family together. Then, you know, go to the park or something. Go play at the park. You know, you don't have to necessarily, like I said, go to the gym in order to be fit. Every weekend, I do not take my kids to the gym because I've already done my time during the week. We mix it up. We'll go on a 20-mile bike ride. We'll do the trampoline park, and we'll bounce around for an hour. 30 minutes in the trampoline park bouncing around, that's a great exercise right there.
Yeah, that's enough to wear you out.
Exactly. And then, or we'll go on a nature walk, and we'll just kind of go explore stuff. I try to do things that mix it up because their attention span is short anyway, so that doing the same thing over and over. So the other thing in the book I write down is yoga poses you can do with your kids. And I wrote down 8 different yoga poses that not only help increase circulation and flexibility, but also they're a great tool, especially when they're young kids are having an emotional breakdown. If they're crying or whatever, I basically pull my son or daughter aside and I try to match their breathing to mine, and then do a yoga pose for about 5 minutes, and you know what? That crying stops.
That's a great idea. That's fabulous. I'm writing that one down right now. Love that.
Yeah, so I think that is a wonderful tool because, and it's in the book, because yoga poses naturally calm them down. There's 8 of them I put in there. They're very simple to do. And you know what? We do yoga together. We stretch together. We do all these things together. And you know what? It's very effective, and they love exercise. They tell me, what are we doing this week? And I'll let them pick. And if they just want to be creative, I'll set up a little obstacle course at home, and we'll do like jump and run and do things like that. So, you know, it's just whatever you make of it. When kids are young, you don't have to spend money on a gym. You don't have to spend money on equipment. You can literally just create a little obstacle course in your house, and they're fine with that.
Right. Yeah, you're right. So for those of you that are listening and don't have a copy of Sanjay's book yet, Sanjay, where can they find your book?
Yeah, so you can find a copy of my book on my website, www.thefoodtalk.net, or you can go to, which you'll get a signed copy. That's the difference there. Or you can go to Barnes & Nobles and Amazon's on there. That won't be a signed copy. But yeah, you can go to my website at thefoodtalk.net, download the first chapter if you like it. There's a e-commerce store, and you're free to purchase, and I sign every copy that I send out.
That's awesome. So I highly encourage you to go out and get that book, if not for all the wonderful nutrition advice, but these 8 yoga poses, because I'm always in the middle of a temper tantrum with one of my kids where I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do right now. So that would be useful.
Do it with your children, and you know what? You will calm down. They will calm down. Everybody calms down, and then you guys can have more healthier dialogue as to how they screwed up. You know. So.
Right. Exactly. So let's see. Fitness. On now, you know, gearing away from my son, my middle child, my 12-year-old, is just started the track season, and she's doing awesome and loving it. But, you know, having some of the standard, my ankles hurt or my knee hurts a little bit just as she's trying to build strength. Do you have any advice on how to help her through those kind of growing pains, if you will?
Yeah, doing different. One thing I do is I train some of my clients in parkour. Are you familiar with parkour?
Yes.
Which is free running. And the greatest thing about parkour is it teaches you how to land, jump, shift your body weight, and get from point A to point B in the most efficient manner possible. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so I set up a little obstacle course in my house, and you know what? It Now my kids can jump from like 6, 7 feet and land, and guess what? They're completely fine. They know exactly what to do, because it just teaches you how to be efficient with your movements and how to be agile and nimble.
Mm-hmm.
What I would recommend actually for your daughter is look up some basic parkour moves actually online. You can see them on how they jump, run, pivot, and then this actually reduces injury in a lot of major sports.
Huh, that's awesome. My son did a little bit of parkour when we lived in Texas, and I didn't, so that's how I'm familiar with it, but I didn't actually know what the principle was, like what it was teaching him.
Yeah, go crazy and jump from, building to building like those guys do, but
Yeah.
The basic parkour movements teaches you how to move your body at different angles so you can avoid injury. I implemented that kind of training, and it's helped me across the board in martial arts and just basically overall physical fitness and injury prevention.
That's awesome. I'm definitely going to look that up after this show, because she has just informed me that she's doing the triple jump in her next track meet. And that is something I know nothing about.
Yeah, no, I mean, tell her you guys should look it up and see how these guys run and move their body efficiently and how they land and how to shift your body weight. And it's fantastic. I've been teaching my kids, and they've been doing great with it.
That's awesome. Do you have any other words of wisdom that you would like to share with our listeners in regards to family fitness and fitness in kids?
Yeah, it all comes back down to leading by example. These are common themes with the food that we talk about and cooking, but same thing with fitness, and that is I see parents at the gym who are super fit. They just drop their kids off in the kiddie gym and tell them to watch TV.
Yeah.
I see that. So what message are you sending them, And then don't get angry at the kids for not liking physical fitness,
Right.
So lead by example, when you can, work out with your children. If you have to skip a day at the gym, fine, so be it. And just do it at home. Do some push-ups with them. Do some sit-ups with them. Do some pull-ups with them.
Well, and the reality is it doesn't take that long to do that either. It's not
at all. And there's all these videos you can see on the internet of these pregnant moms and these moms who just have these newborn children, and they're doing workouts with these kids when they're 2-3 years old. They're all over the internet.
Yeah.
And they're hanging on their mom while she's doing pull-ups. There's so many different ways you can excite your kids. And I say get creative. And in the book, we have creative ways to get them interested in exercise. Get creative. Don't hesitate. Get them started as early as possible. And you don't have to spend a lot of money on team sports to get them in the right direction.
Yeah, I love that each week you share with us some really easy ways to implement nutrition and fitness, like you said, on a budget without having to break the bank. Because I think a lot of times we put so much pressure on having to get them in every sport or, dance class or this or that, when really it just comes down to spending time with them and moving.
Yeah, as the older they get, trust me, your expenses will go up.
Oh, yes.
They're going to want to do the team sports, but when they're young, guess what? You be creative, create the setting, create the standard, and you don't have to spend a lot of money, so take advantage of that time.
Well, I have to admit, that's one of the reasons I'm super excited that Team Rosales is moving to Hawaii, because outdoor adventures are calling us. We're so excited.
Oh, yeah. All you guys have to do is step out your door and just go running every day. We'll go walking, nature hiking, swimming. You got it all out there.
Exactly. Awesome. So before we end for tonight, please go ahead and share again where our listeners can find you. And guys, if you're interested in learning more about how to implement fitness and nutrition into your life as a family, Sanjay is the person you want to talk to. So Sanjay gives away free consultations for you to come up with a plan that's best suited for your family. So I highly encourage you to take him up on that. And very soon, within this next week, he will be offering those services on Honest Talk International.
Yes, excited that you and I partnered together to do this, and you guys have a fantastic platform and a great message, and anything I can do to expand your message and help a lot of families, I'm all for it.
Fantastic. Well, as always, thank you. And go ahead and share some other ways that they can get in touch.
Yeah, so you can find me on all social media, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at GoBigRaja. And then we've got our webpage at thefoodtalk.net and teamnoexcusesfitness.com. And you can always find us on this radio program at Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Central.
Awesome. All right, guys, have a great night, and thank you for tuning in to Honest Talk Radio, and we will see you, or be here next week at the same time, same place. So have a great evening.